Parents gave it all to my brother, then asked me to pay their bills. My reply, brutal. David Parker had always assumed loyalty earned trust, until the day he found the truth buried in a stack of legal paperwork. While helping his aging father sort through documents, a thick folder labeled Estate Plan and Last Will caught his eye. Curiosity tugged at him. He flipped it open, and the words hit like a gut punch. Everything, the house, the savings, the accounts, was left to Ryan, his unemployed, uninvolved younger brother. David's name wasn't even in the margins. Not a clause, not a thank you, just a vague line. We love both our sons equally. His hands trembled as he read it again, disbelieving. For 5 years, he'd paid their mortgage, their groceries, fixed their plumbing. But this was their gratitude? In that moment, David felt not just forgotten, but erased. A silent scream built inside him, the kind of betrayal that doesn't come from strangers, but from the people you gave everything to. David didn't waste time. The will still in his hand, he walked into the living room where his father sat sipping coffee, utterly unaware that the illusion had shattered. "So, this is how it is," David said, voice low and too calm to be safe. Frank looked up, confused, but the moment he saw the folder in David's grip, his face blanched. "David, it's not what you think," he began, already retreating. "Really?" David's voice cracked with disbelief. "Because it looks pretty damn clear. Everything goes to Ryan, nothing for me, not even a mention." Linda rushed in at the sound of raised voices. Her eyes darted from David to the will, then softened in that patronizing way only a mother could manage. "Honey, you don't need the inheritance. You're strong. Ryan, he struggles." "Struggles?" David's voice rose, trembling with restrained rage. "He's not struggling. He's costing. You enabled him for years while I kept this roof over your heads. I didn't just help, I sacrificed." Frank sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "It's complicated." "No, Dad, it's simple." David snapped. "You picked him. You always have. I was just the ATM with a beating heart." For a second, silence thickened the air. Then Linda tried to place a comforting hand on David's shoulder. He stepped back. "You planned for a future where I didn't exist," he said coldly. "Well, now you can live in it." He dropped the wheel on the table, turned and walked towards the door. Behind him, his mother's voice cracked, pleading. His father called after him, but he didn't look back. He didn't owe them that anymore. For the first time in years, David didn't call, didn't visit, didn't wire the usual support payment into their account. The silence was deliberate, razor-sharp, and yet, for 2 full weeks, no one reached out, not a single message, not a knock on his door. They thought he'd cool off, come crawling back like a well-trained lapdog, that he'd simmer down and resume being their unpaid caretaker, but David was done being predictable. On the 15th day, his phone buzzed. A message from Frank. No apology, no acknowledgement of the confrontation, just 6 cold words. "Property taxes are due, need help." David stared at the screen in stunned disbelief. They weren't even pretending anymore. They still saw him as a tool, a credit line, not a son. He replied with a single sentence. "I'm sure Ryan will handle it. It's his house now, after all." 5 minutes later, Linda called. David let it ring. Then came a follow-up text. "David, please don't be like this. We need to talk." Now they wanted to talk? Now, when the bills were piling up and their golden child had nothing to offer? He waited an hour before replying. His fingers didn't tremble this time. "There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. Now live with it." The moment he hit send, something inside him shifted. Not guilt, not regret. Peace. The kind that comes when you stop bleeding for people who never once offered a bandage in return. He placed his phone face down, exhaled and leaned back in his chair. The war had begun, not in violence, but in quiet withdrawal.
and David had no intention of being the one who blinked first.
The messages didn't stop. In fact, they escalated. That evening, David's phone vibrated again. Another text, this time from Linda. "David, we're your parents. Family takes care of each other. We did everything for you growing up, and now you're abandoning us?" Abandoning them? The word hit him like a slap. He clenched his jaw, fighting the urge to laugh bitterly. For years, he was the one who kept them afloat, working late, skipping vacations, cutting personal expenses just to make sure their lives stayed on and their fridge wasn't empty. Now that he refused to be their lifeline, he was suddenly the traitor, the selfish one. He typed slowly, deliberately. "You abandoned me when you left me out of your will. Don't talk to me about family." Within seconds, his phone rang again. It was Ryan this time. The screen lit up with the name he once associated with childhood rivalry, now grown into open contempt. David didn't answer, but the next text from Ryan came in hot. "Dude, stop being dramatic. It's not a big deal. Just help them out, like always." David stared at the message, the entitlement radiating off the screen. No apology, no acknowledgement, just assumption. He replied, "If it's not a big deal, then you want Myd covering the mortgage, right? I'm done." No response, just silence, the kind that spoke volumes. Then came another message from Linda. "We're going to lose the house if you don't help. Please, David." He closed his eyes, exhaled through his nose, and finally wrote, "Maybe you should have thought of that before writing me out of your future." For years, he had been gaslit into believing his role in the family was support staff. Now that he resigned, the system was crashing. They weren't reaching out in love. They were scrambling to repair the machine that used to run on his sacrifice. David put his phone down, the weight of generations no longer on his back. For the first time, their desperation wasn't his responsibility. And that truth felt dangerous and liberating. The next evening, just as David was winding down from work, his phone buzzed again. This time, it was Ryan. "Bro, just send them the money. You're making this a bigger deal than it is." David let out a short, humorous laugh. Of course Ryan would say that. Of course the golden boy, who had never worked a full-time job in his life, who lounged on their parents' couch for years, would minimize this like it was a sibling's bat over a borrowed sweater. He fired back. "You mean the money you're inheriting? Why don't you send it?" Ryan responded instantly, as if he'd been waiting. "You know I don't have that kind of cash right now." David's fingers hovered over the keyboard, rage bubbling just beneath the surface. "But you were fine with them handing you everything. You didn't mind then." No reply, just seen. Then another message. Linda again. "David, we need you. Don't let pride ruin the family. You're better than this." Better than this? That phrase echoed in his head. They always said that when they needed something from him, when they wanted him to be quiet, to comply. He replied, ice in his tone. "If being better means being used, no thanks." Another ping, frank this time. "We're not asking for much. Just help with the mortgage for a few more months. Don't be selfish." Selfish? That word stopped him cold. He had been the one helping for 5 years while Ryan played video games in the basement. He was the one who skipped weekends away, gave up promotions because traveling too far would mean he couldn't swing by and fix the leaky sink or buy groceries when their social security check didn't stretch. And now, when he finally said no, he was the selfish one? No. David stared at the blinking cursor, then typed, "I'm not selfish. I'm just finally done being your fallback plan." Then he powered off his phone, heart racing, but steady. The manipulation wasn't working anymore, and that scared them more than any silence ever could. 2 days passed. No calls, no texts. David thought maybe, just maybe, they'd finally understood he was serious, that the silence meant surrender.
But that illusion shattered when he woke to dozens of missed calls from unknown numbers. Then came the barrage of social media notifications. They'd taken it online. His mother's Facebook post led the charge, wrapped in the disguise of a heartfelt family plea. It breaks my heart when children forget where they come from. We raised our sons with love, but one has turned his back on us when we need him most. Family means sticking together. It didn't take long for the comments to pile up. Aunts, old church friends, even neighbors. Shame on him. Kids today are so ungrateful. We know how much you did for them, Wenda. Then Frank chimed in with his own status. A man who won't help his own family is no man at all. We gave everything. Now we're being left to drown. And the one that made David's blood boil the most. You know who you are. Tagged, public, humiliating. But what truly twisted the knife was Ryan's post. Some people only know how to give when it benefits them. Family is about love, not money. I'd give anything to help my parents, if only I had it. Others could, but won't. The irony was searing. David sat at his kitchen table, staring at the screen, a storm of emotion building behind his eyes. Rage, hurt, disbelief. They had erased his sacrifice with a few clicks, rewritten him as a villain in their curated drama for the world to see. The same people he fed, supported, protected were now crucifying him publicly for saying enough. He opened his own page, hand steady, and began to type. No emojis, no guilt trips, just truth. For those of you reading my family's posts, ask yourselves this. If someone supported you financially for 5 years, quietly, without complaint, would you thank them by cutting them out of your will? He kept typing. The dam was breaking, the truth was coming, and this time, they wouldn't be able to twist it.
David thought the online smear campaigns would be the peak of their desperation until the front desk at his apartment called. Mr. Parker, your parents are here, and there's a third person with them. His breath caught. They say it's urgent, that you're refusing to talk, they won't leave. He felt heat rise in his chest, rage and disbelief colliding. They had actually shown up. After all the manipulation, the gaslighting, the betrayal, they thought they could barge into his life uninvited and force submission? He stormed downstairs, each step pounding with a mix of dread and fury. When the elevator doors opened, they were standing there. Frank, stoic, arms crossed, trying to look dignified while failing to hide the frustration on his face. Linda, hands wringing nervously, her mouth curled in a soft frown as if she were the one hurt. And Ryan, arms in his hoodie pocket, shifting weight between his feet, eyes bored like this whole thing was some minor inconvenience between Call of Duty matches. The moment Linda saw David, she launched in. David, we need to talk, face to face. He didn't move. Arms crossed, he leaned against the doorframe. You don't get to just show up here, not after everything, not after dragging my name through the mud. Frank scoffed, we're not here to argue. We're here because the mortgage is 3 months behind. David laughed coldly. That's not my problem, not anymore. You made that clear when you left me out of your future. Ryan muttered, Jesus man, you're really doing this over a piece of paper? David's eyes snapped to him. No, Ryan, I'm doing this because for once, I finally can. And you're going to learn what it means to be responsible, starting now. Their eyes widened. His tone left no room for hope. For the first time, they realized David wasn't just angry. He was finished.
David didn't budge from the doorway. He let the silence thicken, daring them to fill it. Linda stepped forward, trying her usual gentle tone. Sweetheart, this isn't you. You're not like this. He met her gaze, voice low and sharp. No, Mom, this is me. The version you never cared to see. The one who bled for this family and got erased in return. Frank took a breath, posture stiff. You're being dramatic. We thought you'd understand. Ryan needs more than you. David's jaw tightened. No, what Ryan needs is a job. What he got was a reward for doing nothing, while I was used like a paycheck with a heartbeat. Ryan rolled his eyes. I didn't ask for any of this, man. David snapped. No, you just took it. Every single time. And now you're standing there, hands empty, waiting for me to clean up your mess again. He turned to Frank. You raised me to be responsible. I honored that. But you raised him to be helpless, and now you expect me to carry that burden too? Linda's voice cracked. We thought you'd do the right thing. David stepped forward, closing the gap, his voice quiet but deadly. You had every chance to treat me like a son, but you chose a dependent. You made your bed, now lie in it. The air went still. Even Ryan looked rattled now. Then David took a deep breath and said the words that ended it all. You're not welcome here. Not now, not ever again. And with that, he turned around and closed the door behind him, this time for good.
David thought shutting the door would be the end of it. But toxicity doesn't vanish when you close it out, it mutates. The next morning, he woke to chaos on his social media feed. His phone buzzed non-stop. Frank and Linda had gone nuclear, again. Only this time, it wasn't subtle guilt-tripping. It was full-blown character assassination, broadcast for the world to see. Linda posted a lengthy, teary-eyed monologue. We never imagined our own child would turn his back on us. After everything we've given him, our love, our time, our sacrifices, he's chosen pride over family. We are heartbroken. Frank followed up with his own bitter swipe. A man's true character shows when his parents need him. Ours is busy proving a point while we drown in debt. But what cut deepest, what turned the knife, was Ryan's post. A perfectly filtered photo of him and their parents captioned, "Real family shows up, no matter what. Grateful for the two people who never gave up on me." No tags, no names, but everyone knew. The comments flooded in. Strangers, family friends, even distant cousins who hadn't spoken to David in years. Shameful. He'll regret this someday. Money really changes people. David sat frozen, watching as his reputation was dragged through the dirt, all while the very people who betrayed him painted themselves as victims. They didn't just try to twist the narrative, they rewrote it entirely. Suddenly, he was the selfish son. He was the ungrateful one. But what none of them expected was that David wouldn't just sit back this time. He opened his laptop, logged into Facebook, and began typing. Not to argue, not to attack, but to finally speak. No theatrics, no sugarcoating, just raw, irrefutable truth. If they wanted a public war, they were about to get one.
David's fingers hover over the keyboard, every word heavy with years of silence. He wasn't writing for sympathy. He was writing for clarity, for truth, for freedom. He began simply. To everyone reading my parents' and brothers' posts, here's the side they won't tell you. And then it poured out like a storm he had bottled for far too long. For 5 years, I paid their mortgage, covered bills, fixed everything from broken sinks to busted heaters, while Ryan stayed home, unemployed and uninvolved. I never complained. I never asked for credit. I did it because I believed that's what family does. His chest tightened as he typed the next line. But then I found out they left everything to Ryan in their will. Everything, the house, the savings, not a mention of me, not even a thank you. That's not love, that's erasure. He wrote about the texts demanding money, the guilt trips, the accusations, how the moment he stopped being useful, he was branded selfish. Family is not about unconditional sacrifice from one person while others sit back and benefit. I wasn't their son.
I was their safety net, and now that I've stepped away, they're spiraling, not because they miss me, but because they miss what I provided." He paused, then ended with this: "I didn't abandon my family. They abandoned me when they decided I was only valuable when I was giving. This isn't revenge, it's release. I'm done bleeding for people who never once offered a bandage." David hit post and leaned back. His hands were still, his heartbeat steady. No more hiding, no more apologizing. The truth was out there now, and whatever came next, he was ready for it.
The backlash was swift, explosive even. Within hours of David's post going live, the silence from his family shattered like glass. His phone lit up with messages soaked in fury. The first came from Ryan. "You're a traitor. You really had to air all our business online. What the hell is wrong with you?" David didn't answer. He didn't need to. Truth didn't need defending. But they weren't done. Frank called twice. When David didn't pick up, a voicemail followed, voice shaking with restrained rage. "You've ruined everything. You think people will still respect you after this? You'll regret cutting us off, David. You'll regret turning your back on your own family." But David didn't feel regret, not even a sliver. What he felt was release. What he felt was resolve. Then Linda joined the chorus, her text a twisted blend of sorrow and manipulation. "We brought you into this world. We fed you, loved you. You're really doing this to us over some inheritance?" David inhaled deeply, then replied, "No, I'm doing this because you've treated me like an ATM for years, and when I stopped paying, you called me a monster. That's not love, that's exploitation." The next message from Linda was a dagger. "You've shamed us in front of everyone. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof. Your brother won't talk to us. Are you happy now?" David stared at the screen, a strange calm washing over him. They weren't sorry for what they'd done. They were sorry they got caught. He typed back, "Maybe now you'll feel what I felt for years, being ignored, blamed, and used. I don't feel joy, Mom. I feel free." He hit send and blocked the number. The chain had snapped. The leash was off. And the boy they used to control with guilt had finally become the man who answered to no one but himself. The days that followed were quieter, but not empty. Not the heavy, choking silence of guilt, but the liberating kind, like the first breath after breaking the surface of deep water. David had blocked their numbers, filtered their emails, and shut every digital window they could climb through. He didn't check Facebook anymore, didn't care what version of him they continued to paint. What mattered now was reality, his reality. He came home from work, dropped his keys on the counter, and stood in the stillness of his apartment. For the first time, it didn't feel like a crash pad between emergencies. It felt like his space, his life. No overdue bills that weren't his. No messages begging for help wrapped in guilt. No more playing saver to people who never once thought to save him. And the strangest part? He didn't feel alone. He felt intact, whole. He started going out again, met with friends he hadn't seen in months because he was always busy. He slept in on weekends without waking to a text about leaking pipes or bounced checks. He cooked for one, lit candles for no reason, and caught himself smiling in the mirror just because he could. And yet, in that peace, there was a scar, a faint outline of what had been, a family he tried to save, a role he tried to play. But that scar didn't ache anymore. It didn't control him. It reminded him of strength, of boundaries, of what it means to finally choose yourself over the people who taught you that love must be earned through sacrifice. David wasn't bitter.
He wasn't angry. He was free. And as he stood by his window watching the city lights flicker, he whispered, "I'm done looking back. It's time to live a life that belongs to me." This time, there would be no turning around.